Good afternoon, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome our Chief Guest, Dr. M. Ravichandran, Secretary, the Ministry of Earth Sciences. Guest of Honor, Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, former Chairman, Space Commission and former Secretary, Department of Space. Special guest, Dr. S. Chandrasekhar, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology. Dr. S.S.C. Shenoy, former Director of INCOIS. And Dr. T. Srinivasa Kumar, Director of INCOIS, other guests, invitees, and my dear colleagues to the celebration of 24 years of INCOIS. Let's begin this auspicious occasion by invoking the blessing of the Almighty. I invite Ms. K.G. Sandhya for the invocation.
On this auspicious occasion, I would like to invoke Lord Ganesha. Shri Vignarajam Bhaje, Shri Vignarajam Bhaje, Shri Vignarajam Bhaje, Shri Vignarajam Bhaje. Santadamaham Punjaramukham Shankarasudam, Santadamaham Punjaramukham Shankarasudam Tamiha Shri Vignarajam Bhaje. Shri Vignarajam Bhajeham 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 Bhaje, Shri Vignarajam Bhaje. Sevita Surendra Mahaniya Gunashilam Japatapa Samadhi Guna Varadanukulam Bhavita Surya Munigana Bhakta Paripalam Bhayankara Vishangamadanga Kulakalam Shri Vignarajam Bhaje, Shri Vignarajam Bhaje, Shri Vignarajam Bhaje. Kanaka Keyura Haravali Kanita Gambhira Gauragiri Shobham Sushobham Kanaka Keyura Haravali Kalita Gambhira Gauragiri Shobham Sushobham Kamari Bhaya Bharida Muda Madhikali Kalusha Khandida Makanda Pradabam Kamari Bhaya Bharida Muda Madhikali Kalusha Khandida Makanda Pradabam Sanaka Shuka Narada Patanjali Parashara Madanga Muni Sangha Sallabam Satya Paramabjanayana Pramukha Muktikara Tattvamasi Nitya Nigamadi Swarupam Shri Vignarajam Bhaje, Shri Vignarajam Bhajeham 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 Bhaje, Shri Vignarajam Bhaje, Shri Vignarajam Bhaje, Shri Vignarajam Bhaje.
Thank you, ma'am. Established as an autonomous body in 1999, with a mission to provide the best possible ocean information and advisory services to society, industry, government agencies, and the scientific community, INCOIS has grown and created a niche space for itself in the field of operational oceanography, both nationally and internationally. Now, let's take a glimpse of INCOIS through the years. These photos not only display the journey of INCOIS, but also tell a memorable story of resilience, teamwork, and harmony. Special thanks to Mr. Kiran Kumar and his team for putting together this visual treat. May I now request our distinguished guest to come over to the dais. I kindly request our director to welcome our guest with a small bouquet. May I now request our distinguished guest to light the lamp. I now request our director, Dr. T. Srinivasa Kumar, to deliver the welcome address.
Very good afternoon. Dr. Chandrasekhar, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology. Chief guest of today, Dr. M. Ravichandran, Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences. Guest of honor, Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, former Chairman, Space Commission and former Secretary, Department of Space, and most importantly, also the former Director of INCOIS. Dr. Shenoy, former Director of INCOIS. Dr. Prakash Chauhan, Director, NRSC. Dignitaries from all institutions, my own colleagues, my colleagues from the Ministry, MOES, Dr. Vijay Kumar, Prashant. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to the 24th commemoration day of the INCOIS, as today we enter to a silver jubilee year. I'm glad that we are able to commemorate this event in person after several years of virtual events that we've done due to COVID. INCOIS' journey of 24 years has not been that long when we look back in time, especially as you have seen in the pictures now. It has been very vivid, very eventful. Originally conceived as a provider of oceanographic data and services, we quickly evolved into a knowledge and information technology hub for the entire ocean space. Not many countries in the world can boast of institutions such as INCOIS. I would like to acknowledge the contributions of our visionary secretaries, directors, young, intelligent, and dedicated, hardworking colleagues at INCOIS, support from the Ministry, the Governing Council, the Finance Committees, RSCs, our sister institutions that we work very closely with, and other partner organizations across India. I would like to acknowledge them, on our path to this success. Now, let me help reflect where we stand at the moment. As most of you know, INCOIS work transcends all aspects of end-to-end ocean value chain with all the 4 major components that we do, which is the first one is to observe. We observe the oceans to understand it. We simulate to be able to predict. We deliver services. We deliver information that is useful for the people. And we also deliver information that helps in managing resources through policy and planning. Now, we occupy a very niche space among our oceanographic institutions because we focus on transforming the benefits of ocean science, technology, and innovation to meet societal needs. That's our niche space. When there are so many, people, institutions operating in oceanography, we actually work very closely with the society. And our wide range of stakeholders, they span all the blue economy stakeholders in the country and internationally. They're not limited to, but then we have fishermen, ports and harbors, shipping industry, disaster managers, policymakers, administrators, businesses, academia, researchers. So, our user community is very wide. And then our some of our flagship services include potential fishing zones, for example, coral bleaching alerts, harmful algal blooms, many ecosystem-related services, ocean state forecast services, disaster-related services like tsunami early warning, storm surge early warning, and so on and so forth. We also give climate services, data services, and also capacity building, ocean observations, and modeling. They remain the bedrock of all that we do, including, applied research. We do in situ and remote sensing observations. For example, we have, recently ISRO has launched the OceanSat-3, for which we'll be one of the prime users, and capacity building through our ITCO Ocean. We do a lot of capacity development activities in the region. In the international space, INCOIS is one of the tsunami service providers for the entire Indian Ocean region. We act as the national and regional data centers. We have the secretariats for the Indian Ocean GOOS, International Indian Ocean Expedition, a Category 2 UNESCO center, and so on and so forth. Very recently, we've also been identified as, our proposal has been accepted by IOC UNESCO to be one of the decade collaborative centers for the Indian Ocean region for this ocean decade. So as we move towards the G20 presidency, I think with this international profile will go a big way in ocean diplomacy in the region. Now, we have been around for 24. Now, what is our vision for the next few years? So we'll be working very closely with the ministry's vision on blue economy and the deep ocean mission and so on. We'll continue to do long-term observations and then helping towards accurate prediction of essential ocean variables, because this is very important for driving blue economy. And then to assist meaningfully in these areas, we have made several short-term and long-term plans. Like, for example, we'll be working on ecosystem approach to fisheries, forecast of biogeochemical parameters in OSF, integrated warning for all oceanogenic hazards, and so on. And we recognize the need for all INCOIS services to deliver impact-based products that will transform early warnings to early action. That is something we commit to work on. And that's what actually also reflects in our recent initiation of the Unified Modeling and Forecast System. So we as a country, is working on the deep ocean mission of the ministry. I'd like to commit to our secretary and all the dignitaries that we'll be working closely on ocean climate change advisory services, and we'll also be a big part in the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. So we'll continue to enhance the scope and accuracy of our existing services, expand our user base, and at the same time incorporate new services into our bouquet. So you'll see a few services being launched by the dignitaries today. I'd like to respectfully thank all the dignitaries for really making time and then being here today, and then committing once again that we'll continue to do our best for the society, for the country, and for the region. I'd like to welcome all of you once again, and then it has been such a great pleasure having you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for reflecting on INCOIS's flagship services to society and highlighting the vision for our future. I'm honored to introduce Dr. SSC Shenoy, our former director, who in fact needs no introduction here. He spearheaded INCOIS from 2009 to 2020 and was instrumental in improving the ocean modeling activities of INCOIS, along with the development of the International Training Center for Operational Oceanography, ITCO. I call upon Dr. SSC Shenoy to address the gathering.
Secretary to Ministry of Earth Sciences, Dr. Ravichandran, Secretary to Ministry of Science and Technology, Dr. Chandrasekhar, our former Director and former Chairman, ISRO, Dr. Radhakrishnan, Dr. Srinivas Kumar, Director INCOIS, Dr. Prakash Chauhan, Director NRC, the colleagues from INCOIS. I still consider them as my colleagues because I come here daily, so I still consider all of them as my colleagues. And the officials from Ministry of Earth Sciences, other invitees, students, and other guests who are present here. A very good afternoon to all of you. And I am really happy and privileged to be part of this Foundation Day, which is special because INCOIS is completing 24 years and entering to the Silver Jubilee year, the 25th year now onwards. So it is going to be a very special occasion, and it is going to be a special year 2023 to 2024. So INCOIS has to behave very specially during this year. Behave specially means INCOIS has to show its strength further and further. I fully agree that the past 24 years were very productive. INCOIS innovated from year to year on the services which it is provided, and also added more services and did a lot of improvements in the existing services as well as in the providing services. But when you start providing the services, the expectations of the users, of the stakeholders also goes up. Earlier, if we give a map of ocean state forecast, that was considered okay, great. Now you can't. You have to innovate. You have to provide better services. So the challenges are many. You have to provide innovative services, what the user need. Otherwise, we will become irrelevant, and we should not. I am sure INCOIS will never become irrelevant in its existence, because I know the colleagues at INCOIS and the present leadership at INCOIS as well as at MOES. So I am very sure, and I feel happy as well as proud of the achievements of INCOIS. In fact, it was Dr. Radhakrishnan who introduced me to INCOIS when he was a director. I was at NIO, and he used to call me for some or other reasons. And I realized that INCOIS is a very different institute than the other research institutions, because it is more focused. That is one aspect. And second is translating the research into the more applicable or more useful products. That was the focus of INCOIS. It's more of a translational research and translational work, which is equally difficult like the fundamental research or finding very fundamental in the nature. This also is very important, and this has greater acceptability in the society because society can directly use that information. It is like when Sir C.V. Raman came out with the explanation for Raman effect. No one thought that how much effect that Raman effect is going to have in the day-to-day life in medical science or in any part of the science. So all that has been translated and applied. So similar way, the INCOIS also is doing that great job of translating the acquired knowledge in the marine sciences and providing the services. When INCOIS was started, I am sure it was the totally alien idea or a very novel idea for coming up with the ocean state forecasts or providing potential fishing zone advisories. Of course, the tsunami was never thought about when INCOIS was established, but INCOIS was very quick in thinking about how we can provide tsunami early warnings, and that idea was developed, and INCOIS was very successful in becoming one of the world-class tsunami early warning service center. Similarly, in the ocean state forecast as well as in the potential fishing zone advisories, etc. So my only request to the colleagues at INCOIS is that make use of this special occasion and special year, and take a pledge that this year we are going to come out with more innovative ideas, more innovative products which are required by the stakeholders, and we will also not leave our passion for the research and innovation in whatever we are doing. Like Dr. Srinivas Kumar had mentioned earlier, we were providing the the various aspects of ocean, especially the effects on the coast are going to change in the climatic scale. That is very important for long-term planning as well as for the long-term economic activities, and INCOIS has taken up that as one of the challenge under Deep Ocean Mission project. And I really congratulate INCOIS for coming out with more innovative ideas and more innovative work culture. So with these words, let me once again wish you all a happy Foundation Day, and I look forward to the 25th year progress, the quicker progress during the 25th. In all sense, the responsibility is sitting on our shoulders. So I'm sure that the INCOIS colleagues will accept that responsibility and put out their best during this Silver Jubilee year. With my all wishes for the bright future of INCOIS, let me conclude here. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words. We promise to come up with more innovative ideas, innovative products for the society in this year. I take great joy in introducing our guest of honor, Padma awardee Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, former chairman of the Space Commission and former secretary, Department of Space. He is our founding director and was with INCOIS between 2000 and 2005. He's also an accomplished vocalist and Kathakali artist. I invite Dr. K. Radhakrishnan to deliver his address.
Good afternoon to all of you, my beloved colleagues, Dr. Ravichandran, and the special guest of the day, Dr. Chandrasekhar, our beloved director, Dr. Srinivas Kumar, and then former director, Dr. Satish Shenoy, Dr. Prakash Chauhan, director of NRSC, our mother institution, and all members of the great grand INCOIS family who are present here. We say that the birthdays are the ones where you remember the mother and pay tributes to the parents for putting you in this shape today. Jubilees are occasions to respect, to retrospect,
and to revive. And the Silver Jubilee is the right occasion for any institution to think how not to become stale, how to bring that same kind of energy that we had at the time of birth, and then spring back to new domains and new areas of relevance for the nation, of relevance for the people, and where you can still continue to make a difference. There is a history behind the formation of this institution, which starts with a project with National Remote Sensing Agency, started using remote sensing data at one point of time. That is history. In 1999, it was decided we must have a center where we do ocean data collection, storage, and provide services based on that. But soon we thought that it's not enough to be just a data center, which we see in several parts of the world, but we must become that knowledge and information technology enterprise for the oceanic realm. That made the difference. That put us in a different direction. And we were also having nurturing bosses, the secretaries, who gave us new programs, satellite oceanography or the modeling activity, the Argo international project, which all gave us international visibility because ocean is global and nothing is local. We also believed at that time that an organization has a reason to exist if it can make a difference for the nation, especially when you are using taxpayers' money. This very thought made all of us in this place a small team. And my number two was 15 years younger to me, Dr. Ravichandran, and the rest of them were in their 20s. We all sat together, and for 20 days, we only studied about tsunami. Till 26th December 2004, in India, the oceanography community knew about tsunami as a matter of definition. But these 20 days made a lot of difference for the nation, and we had in Delhi our secretary, one of the internationally acclaimed experts in seismology. And together we devised the tsunami early warning system. And irrespective of the leadership at Delhi or in Hyderabad, the system came up as the best one probably in the world and the one used by the Indian Ocean region. So this is the spirit with which we started, and I'm extremely happy that spirit continues from what we learn from our younger colleagues about the deep ocean mission, about the blue economy, and the kind of relevance that they have made in this country for the entire Ministry of Earth Sciences. And looking back as elders at this phase of life, these are satisfying moments in life. Now, if they have to feel so, the responsibility is with every one of you. If people in their 20s could become the leaders in different domains in this campus, in this building, what stops every one of you to think, what difference are you going to make to this institute, to this department, and to this field of science and technology? Think, and let this be an year where you all will collectively do that brainstorming session and tell the management that we would like to develop in these domains, not constrained by the constraints put in the past. You create your own fields of activity, and then you will have another phase of INCOIS. The name may change, your areas may change, and you will get a larger dimension. So by 2047, when the nation is in the 100th year, we will see, that is 25 years from now, a different kind of institution coming in this place, which may grow vertically, which may grow horizontally, physically, and in terms of the domains. And by that time, as a person coming from space, I feel we will be member of the interplanetary society. And there are a lot of things to learn about our neighbors in the solar system, and also to use that knowledge to improve what is happening in our own planet Earth. Thank you very much for this great moment in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the history of INCOIS and the birth of the Tsunami Early Warning Center. I'm sure tonight we all will think about what difference we can make. I'm profoundly delighted to introduce the chief guest for the evening, Dr. M. Ravichandran, Secretary MOES and Chairman INCOIS GB. Dr. M. Ravichandran was a group head at INCOIS from 2001 to 2016 before taking charge as director at the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research, Goa. I invite Dr. M. Ravichandran to deliver the presidential address.
Dr. Chandrasekhar, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology. Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, former Chairman ISRO, and more importantly, Founding Director of INCOIS, and Dr. Srinivas Kumar, Director, INCOIS, Dr. Shenoy, former Director of INCOIS, and Dr. Prakash Chavan, and my colleagues from INCOIS and Ministry of Earth Sciences, and also friends and colleagues from NRSC, and other invitees. Very good afternoon to all of you. It is indeed a great pleasure to be here as part of this Foundation Day celebration. First of all, happy Foundation Day to all of you. I profoundly thank you, each one of you, for contributing to INCOIS growth, that means nation's growth by ocean services as well as science from the ocean. As we are entering into 25th year, as many people have pointed out, I think you have significantly contributed. I am very proud that you have contributed in terms of science and also in services. But there are many things we need to do much more, I think, in your area. I know everybody is always that when we joined that our average age is 24 or 23, or maybe the double the age is very energetic, and we want to do. And one more important thing is, we are all not come from really oceanographic background. Most of us come from different background, but basic science, applied, and physics, chemistry, from all different. Basically, we have started with the multidisciplinary things. I think now this is the time also exactly multidisciplinary. I think if you talk about the services, I think INCOIS mandate is to translate science to services. Of course, this services to society. Maybe I can call as a 3S. Translate science to services to society. So that is a mantra of INCOIS. I think we are continues to contribute to science as well as services. We started with the PFZ. Of course, we are doing very good, and we started with where the fish, maybe general fish catch or ecosystem is available, and later on we gone for a species specific. I think now it is a time to go much beyond. I think each one of you have to think about what is the next in that same domain. As you all know that presently we are getting about 11 million metric ton of fish available in our region. But I think in 5 years, our demand is at least 18 million ton. So how do we get it? So I think we have resources in the deep ocean. So most of our services, what we are giving in the shallow, I think now we have to think beyond our shallow or coastal region. We have to give deep ocean fisheries. We have to motivate our people to go for a deep ocean fisheries. For that, what we need to do? Suppose whether it is only pelagic or it is demersal or in any other pieces, whether we can give a forecast from satellite or any other services, we need to think about it. And similarly, when you talk about the ocean state forecast, yes, we are doing ocean state forecast, but I think we need to attach to each community or each group very closely. We have to work with that community, what we need. So suppose if in ocean state forecast, we are thinking about optimum ship routing. Suppose somebody wants to go from Chennai to Singapore. Whether it is a straight to perfect or it is going to some other route is a perfect. I think it is only we can tell. Because of the wind and currents, this is the best way to go. And also, I think now you may be knowing that coastal shipping is the important mission for the shipping ministry. So I think we can contribute to that. Because you know that only India is fortunate to have the reversal of currents, 6 months in one direction and 6 months in other direction. Whether we can make use of that natural system for the shipping. Suppose if you want to go from maybe some thousands of containers has to come from maybe you can say that West Bengal to Chennai. Then we can advise the people, okay, this is a time from October to March. You bring it this side in the coastal line ship. Whereas if you want to go in the other direction, they can take it in the other 6 months. Similarly in the West Coast. So we have to tell people, maybe the shipping community or anybody, so this is the best time. So without using any energy, we can bring it from West Bengal to here. Only you have to coast, you have to do it. Because the current will take, you all know, many people know that whenever we lose the buoys or anything, we will get it in Chennai. You know what is the connection between Chennai and Burma. That is all coastal currents and deep ocean currents. So we have to make use of that and we have to provide accordingly to the services. Similarly, we have to tsunami warning center. Yes, it is a best tsunami warning center. Whether we can go much beyond, whether now we have equipped with only earthquake related tsunami. Suppose if some meteorite falls, whether you can forecast. So how do we do that? Or maybe landslides or maybe volcano or something. So we have to think beyond this thing. And also we need to have better automation and other things we need to do. And you all know that under climate change scenario now, marine heat waves become very important things are happening. So whether it is because of the marine heat wave, if it is a stratification, it becomes stronger and stronger. So what will happen to the fisheries? So what we need to do? So pelagic will go off. So that type of forewarning, then maybe we have to tell in the climate scale what will be the feature. Because people are thinking that now all the tropical countries fisheries is migrating to mid latitude and mid latitude species migrating to polar regions. So if that is the case, what will happen in the tropics? Because of the marine heat wave, it will migrate or it will migrate to down. So what will be the case? So we have to think about in all aspects of the services. Of course, when we are talking about services, the backbone is observation, understanding, modeling, simulation, all these things have to be inbuilt. I think in the modeling also, very important things which we are doing, what is called maybe the seasonal forecast of the monsoon. I think India, basically INCOIS, is very important position in monsoon forecasting, but nobody knows. So monsoon forecasting means everybody knows IMD, but IMD is only for short-term forecast. But the long-term forecast, it is going from here. Ocean is having longer memory. If you want to talk about few days, you can think about atmosphere. But if you want to go for week to beyond, then the memory is available in the ocean. So I think we have to go for seasonal prediction. Maybe in the month of February, you have to tell this year monsoon how it will be. That clue is available from the ocean. I think we need to have better simulation of the ocean model. And I understand that you are going with the unified model of MOM5. I think speed up the process and you have to bring out some of the services which is unique. I think apart from that, one more thing is what we are doing. Of course, it is come from the, I think Chandrasekhar vouched me. I think from the topmost level, people doesn't know what is each institution is doing, what science is contributing to the society, or what is the science way. I think our outreach is very, very poor. I think we need to communicate to the people what we are doing, what is possible, what is not possible. We need to communicate to the people so that they know what is the thing. Suppose even for weather, Meteorology people also always get a bank. Meteorology's forecast is not correct. That means 80% of the time, even though they get a good forecast, but 10% or 20% is wrong, people will talk about 20%. So, but we have to communicate the weather, how difficult it is. Similarly, ocean weather. What is the difficulty in the ocean weather? We need to communicate. That is more important than what is called whatever we are doing. What you are doing, we have to communicate. That is very important. And the last one I want to touch upon is, I think you have to make a 3 plan. One is short term. Of course, others also pointed out, maybe this year, in 25th year of maybe the end of the 25th year, what you can deliver to the community in terms of science, in terms of data, in terms of services, in terms of knowledge, or whatever the things. What you will deliver, you plan it. I think each group you have to discuss among yourself, come out with a plan. This is what we want to do. So maybe short-term plan this year. Then the decade of the ocean. You all know that this is a decade of the ocean. So we need to celebrate at the same time. We need to contribute not only for the INCOIS or India or Indian Ocean, but also the global ocean. So what we can contribute to the global ocean, we have to be a global leader. So as our minister always tell, only Indian Ocean is named after India. So no other ocean is named after any country. So we need to contribute more, much more than anybody else. So I think that is a short-term plan we have to make. In the medium term, I think in the decade, of course, we have a very important thing, the blue economy. And under the blue economy, again, it is a deep ocean mission. So the blue economy, as you know, that the ministry is spearheading this blue economy. The important thing is we need to work with other ministries. We should not work on silo. That's what I was telling. Blue economy, when you talk about, we have to work with the Ministry of Shipping for shipping route, optimum ship routing. Ministry of Petroleum and Gas, of course, I know that you are already working with the petroleum and gas, and we are going to have major project with the ONGC and as well as the Ministry of Petroleum. And similarly, we have to work with the Ministry of Environment, Forest, the coastal. The science of climate change is our domain, but mitigation as well as adaptation strategy has to be planned by the Ministry of Environment. So we need to feed them. This is what is going to happen maybe next decade or next century, where our coast will be changed. That only we can tell. Nobody can tell. So what is the methodology for telling that, especially in terms of observation and modeling, you have to bring out that. So we have to plan a strategy of what is the coastal vulnerability and other things. And similarly, Ministry of Energy, MNRE. See, ocean is having a lot of energy. Whether you take it salinity gradient, whether you take it ocean thermal energy, tidal energy, current energy, wind energy, wave energy, we don't have a document. How much resource potential available? I was told that even if it is a gas head rates, the amount of gas head rates in our backyard in Bay of Bengal, whatever, if you are able to harness, entire country is flooded with energy. But we don't know what is available, how much is available, whether technology is available. All these things we have to think about. At least we need to make a map or resource potential, what is available from the ocean. Even offshore wind, this huge offshore wind. You name it in 2050, there is a 2050 one, what is science and technology, 2050 article is written by someone. I think that time, most of the energy, 80% of the energy comes from the ocean, clean energy. You name it hydrogen, it will come from ocean. You name it any other energy, petroleum will go and this will taken up. So we have to assess the potential. So that only INCOIS can do. What is the assessment of various resource potential and various the distance time? What is that one? Similarly, the last one, as you what is called 2047, we have reaching Amrit Call. So we have to think that in 2047, what we can deliver, what we would be at that time. I think you have to think about, and we have to plan now itself. So something, can we contribute the blue economy? Presently, blue economy is about 4% average. Whether we can take it to 10%. For that, what is our contribution? We have to think about it. Maybe what is that in terms of ship routing, fisheries, or marine, coastal marine spatial planning, or you can take marine manufacturing in the coastal industries. So various other services whether we can contribute, and what are the ways and means to contribute or to improve the blue economic growth in the coming decades and other things. We have to plan for it so that we can significantly, definitely we can contribute. I think you all know that 2030, our India's vision, 10 chapters are there, 10 documents. One of the vision, sixth vision is ocean. So the economy of the ocean or blue economy are called our ocean policy. So you all know very soon, maybe a month or two, it will be ocean policy will be released, and the Ministry of Earth Sciences will be the nodal ministry to make a ocean policy to implement. I think in that INCOIS has to play a major role, and I think you have to gear up with all the four corners of observation to services. You have to contribute, and I look forward for much more contribution, especially in 25. We need a unique contribution from INCOIS. I am sure that on the deep ocean mission, you can bring out something very soon. Thank you very much. And once again, I congratulate you, all of you, for the services as well as for taking INCOIS in the global dot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your motivating words. This Jubilee year, we will work to accelerate the 3S Science to Service to Society mission and also increase our outreach and communication activities. I'm sure our group directors will also brainstorm on the 3 goals that you mentioned. I'm honored to introduce Dr. S. Chandrasekhar, Secretary DST, who has joined us today to deliver the Foundation Day lecture. Dr. Chandrasekhar was the director of the Indian Institute of Chemical Technology here at Hyderabad and has made significant contributions in diverse areas of organic chemistry. I invite Dr. S. Chandrasekhar to give the lecture on 13th to 21st.
Firstly, greetings to all the friends of INCOIS on your 24th birthday. Greetings to all of you, and you're getting into the boring part of the event, hopefully, because I always know whenever there is an annual day in IICT as a director, I think the big things start after this event. The cultural program, the gala dinner, all that. Unfortunately, we had to end with the lecture as scientists, so I personally thought I'll wake you up a little bit. Initially, I wanted to share with you a much longer story, but then looking at the audience, I'm trying to make it a little shorter. Firstly, let me thank the director INCOIS for inviting me here. Ravi, thank you again. Also, Secretary MOES. Radhakrishnan ji, always you have an inspirational personality that you are in the audience. I'm so delighted. And all the friends. When I took this topic, and also as a researcher, it is so easy to give a lecture to the audience who are working in my domain. I take my latest publication in some big journal, make 20 slides, and you give a 20-minute talk and you have a question and answer session, and you're all happy. But when you want to talk to people working in a very different domain, and Ravichandran already told me during the lunch break that the word ocean should not come in the talk. Now this has put me so much pressure, but I do believe that by end of this talk, hopefully in 35-40 minutes, I'll be able to convince you that you spent this 40 minutes worthwhile. So when I choose initially a topic which was shared, I wanted to share with you not just a saga of science for about 5 centuries or 6 centuries, but I thought I'll share with you the science since the Stone Age. So my initial title was Science from Stone Age to Zen Alpha. But then I realized that this is going to be too much of science on that, so I try to cut a little bit and try to connect you on this. Why do we read history? As a scientist, we always believed that reading history is wasting our time. But today when we began our event, the event began with the history, how the journey of this institute has begun. And as a student in school, I never studied history. I thought, why should we read history of Akbar, Birbal or someone else? I read science, not the history. But as I grew in my career, I realized that knowing yesterday is so important to do good today and do better tomorrow. So I thought I'd just share with you how the science has begun in the 13th, 14th century. I took this 13th, 14th century because that's the time the documentation of literature has begun. While we may talk science has begun during the rock era or Stone Age, when the Homo sapiens during the Neolithic periods were able to make some sharp objects from the stone, kill the animals. They also started wearing leather coat. Today, one of the most fashionable blazer would be made of leather. And you go to Italy to buy a leather coat. The best leather you think is coming from Italy. But you should know that 30,000 years ago, someone was wearing leather coat. So it's not so great that the science is discovered yesterday or today. Similarly, when we talk of processing leather was not today. It has been there for ages. Those who visit Delhi, you see Qutub Minar, the kind of inorganic chemistry, the metallurgy, the iron, the copper era. I mean, how the science has evolved, I think, is first to watch. So I made a compilation of, honestly, the science which began 1.5 lakh years ago till hopefully 2050, when the Zen Alpha, which we are seeing the kids who are born in front of us, our grandchildren, at least my grandchild, if you want to call, how they are going to look at the science. We also started talking about the kind of artificial intelligence technologies which are coming up. Now look like you don't record do anything, you go and ask a computer what an article in the classroom and it will write an article for you. How we are going to handle these kind of AI-driven technologies is something I thought I'll share with you, but then I'll curtail the story into just about 13th century to 2040, maybe not, I'll not go beyond that. It's not working. No, laptop is here. That will bring the whole rhythm. Wait, I think hopefully it should work now. It works, I think, yeah, it should pick up, yeah. No, the laptop is here, so I thought okay, somewhere else. Okay, we go, we'll manage it. I know it, yeah. I'm talking of Gen Alpha, you're taking me to Rock era when pointer was not there. Okay, fine, perfect, don't worry. So he has taken me to pre-pointer era. So when I give this talk, I also wanted my young friends, if you happen to be traveling, buy this book, and this gives you the real science history, how the science has evolved over a period of few hundreds of years, and where we are today and where we would be. Most probably that would be my last slide. I don't know. I think next slide, please. I think that's much better. So when we would like to call ourselves as scientists, I thought it's very important to also know who is a scientist and what characters he should have. Can you get me the power mic? I think that makes my easy life. I'm audible? Thank you. So when I say we are scientists, hopefully all of us are scientists, and what is the definition of a science in the Oxford Dictionary? So the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure. And who is a scientist? A scientist is a person who works in and has expert knowledge of a particular field of science. Now, the science what we are talking of 13th century or 14th century and 15th century, the lucky lot who never had an agency like IST, who never had an agency like INCOIS, who would call for proposals, define what a scientist should do, and give money, and then monitor them. So this most of the time the science is driven by the top. So, but the curiosity-driven science has come from people who have used their personal money. Please understand, science is driven by curiosity, and curiosity is your thought. It may be wrong, it may be right. So you are trying to prove your curiosity is correct or not correct. So why a taxpayer's money should be given to a scientist? So use your personal provident fund money and do science. And if it is great, you get a Nobel Prize or you get a patent and you sell the patent and make money out of it. As long as you depend on funding agencies like us, we tell you what you have to do, unfortunately. So that's why science has to be driven. But if you look at seriously when the science was done in 14th century, 15th century, 16th century, these people who had that idea were going to the king or the minister or a rich person and plead, I have this idea, I want to prove, can you please fund me? Or he would just use his personal wealth and do research. And when the work is done, there was no journal called Nature or Science, or there is no journal, Tetrahedral Letters, which is my most favorite journal, organic journal, was not there. So what they would do in those eras is, they will go on a Sunday to a church, because science mostly is recorded in the West. They go to a place where people worship. And after the prayers, they will talk to some intellectual people what they observed while doing experiment. That's how science was propagated. There was no internet. There was nothing like a journal that you publish. The publication of journals has begun only around 19th century. Because at least in my science, chemical sciences, the first journal is published in 1817. We will see Chem Barista or Liebig's Anlander Kami, which are all like 1850, 1860, and we are not seeing journals before that. And those journals are not there in any library except in IST for that matter. So science recording was not there, and pre-1600, 1700 was where you go and communicate. Not that someone will come to a conference and present. So that's how science was propagated. But I also wanted to give you some rules on what a scientist should follow. See failure as a beginning, because as Ravi told, you are trying to do science which gets into services and it goes into society. So scientists tend to have a lot of failures. Certainly when the science is becoming technology, your failures increase actually. Scientists could do a small experiment and he can give a hypothesis, but when you really go on the field, I think that will never work. So there is a tendency that we fail. And learning is a very critical part, and many times again my little worry when I am looking at the institute name, services. Many times when you are in service industry, you tend to stop learning. I'm sorry, but this is a statement I'm making, my experience with my friends or my next generation when it's a Gen Alpha who work with IT industries. They don't learn. Someone will tell you, you do this, and they do that. I think service industry has to be an industry which also has to learn. So you have to be a learner and assume nothing, question everything. I think this is something we have not been taught in our education. Hopefully, the NEP allows the student to challenge the teacher. When I was young, I challenged my Telugu teacher for something because I was very good in Telugu. And this teacher could not beat me because generally women teachers are not supposed to be beating the boy students. So she called the Hindi Pandit. I'm sure most of you have a similar experience. Hindi Pandits are the ones in Hyderabad who will be the biggest beaters. So Hindi Pandit has beaten me that why did you ask a question? So, and then I'm sure I also come from actually the generation to which I belong. I am told these 64 born people are the baby boomers. And people who are born during World War are called silent generation. The poor fellows could never speak. So every generation, 20 years, 30 years, you keep changing the generation. So that's the era from which we come. So I think we need to really challenge if something is taught in the classroom. Teach others what we know. This is a big challenge we all encounter. We think that if I tell what I have done to my friend, he will get Bhatnagar Award before me. Or he'll get MOES Year of the Science Award before me. So better what I am doing, I'll keep myself till I publish. So I think we need to really share what we are doing. Analyze objectively. Many times this is where we fail very badly. In a hurry, we analyze things, we publish, and they tend to end in a wrong direction. Of course, humility is something we need to learn from Radhakrishna sir. Thank you sir, you have been so kind to all of us. And practice humility is very critical to all of us. Scientists generally tend to be a little egoistic. Scientists think I am best in the world. So I think scientists need to come out of that ego. Respect constructive criticism. If someone says your science is not good, that's okay. I mean, you question, challenge. That is why the conferences are meant. That's why peer review is there. Someone questions it. Give credit where it is due. Unfortunately, this is where scientists need to get into ethics a little more seriously. We keep getting complaints from young colleagues. I have contributed, but my guide gave me last author. My first author is not right. Second author is not correct. So we get into discussions which have no relevance, unfortunately. So my guide, Dr. A.V. Ramarao, decided that we go alphabetical. Whoever is the best author, first author, I don't worry. So now how do you decide who has contributed more? And I also met one Malayali friend. His father gave his name Abga, so that his roll number is always 1. His name is ABCA. So you can't even go anywhere. His name has to be roll number 1. Because if your name stands Yadav, you have to be last in the class. So I mean, I think these are all small things and we need to be respecting, give credit wherever it's possible and proper credit. And take initiatives is a very critical parameter and ask the tough questions early. I think as Ravi was talking again, I think we ask the question and the right question. Many a times our questions are driven, as I told, top down. But I would like to ask a question when Ravi said, what is that I should do in the 25th year? I think a very serious brainstorming, come with one question, get the best answer, and that answer has to be written with the golden letters at the entrance of INCOIS. I mean, that's the boundary we need to set up. Love what you do or leave. I think something very critical. Or at least love what you get. Many times you wanted best personality in life for you as a partner, but then you start loving what you get. I didn't make any statement, so love what you do, don't leave actually. Okay. Next slide please. Next please. Yeah. So I also would like to share with you how we are all measured. We are talking of a country's popularity or importance on this planet. While we are talking of interplanetary discussions, we are unfortunately confined to Mother Earth, and we keep talking of a country which has the largest GDP or best technologies coming like US or Israel. We look at them as our benchmark countries. We would like to be like that. But remember, we need to also be measured not just by GDP, but few other parameters. I believe we should be measured by, are we happy? So I just gave a list which is not very old list, 23, a new list must have come. Almost first 4 or 5 countries, their positions have never changed. Why are they happy? And we are the most philosophical country in the world, and we believe that philosophy of life gives you all happiness to us, but unfortunately, our rank is not in top 100, unfortunately. I did not give, I think, somewhere on my slide, but we are around 120 or 121. And some of our neighbors who are into recession, no food to eat, are 5-6 ranks better than us. So we need to learn what is that we are not happy. Parameters which made them top, of course GDP is a very critical parameter. Healthy years of life expectancy. So look like we are not very healthy country. That's where I think we have Pradhan Mantri Jan Aushadhi scheme, we are trying to bring in the best practices. Social support, I thought we have good country where proper social support, but still we are not getting scores there. Trust, maybe as I told, we don't trust each other. Freedom to make life decisions. We all live with arranged marriages. Generosity. I thought we are generous, but we are not so generous. We are only generous in front of a temple, and we are generally generous at a traffic signal. So, can be a little more generous. and environment, social, urban, and natural. These are some parameters which are used to make. I do believe that while we're talking of Amritkal 2047, we want to be best in the country. I do believe we also come in top 10 countries. I think some target we need to keep. Remember, this word repeatedly was used by our former Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu. He used to always say that I want to make Andhra Pradesh a happiest state. I think this is an important measurement for all of us. Next slide, please. So, while we're all talking of science, and I just wanted to share a little fun around science, when you look at the planet 200 million years ago, we all know that there were no continents, and it was almost like one unit after the planet is formed. But over a period of few hundred years, we started making our own boundaries, we started making our passports, so that we cannot enter other countries. If country was supposed to be like this whole world, then I don't think we need a passport. You're land connected. But maybe nature divided us, and then we made more boundaries, and then we are fragmented. As I told, 17th century or 16th century, the words physics, chemistry, biology were not there. It's all science. Science is one subject. But today, like we divided the planet, we also made, I'm a physicist, I'm a chemist, I'm an astronomist, I'm an earth scientist, Ravi, biological scientist. Now, within that, are we happy? No. Within my own science, I don't know in earth sciences how many fragments are there or how many fractures are there. But in chemical sciences, we are inorganic chemist, organic chemist, physical chemist. Then within organic chemist, I say I'm a natural product chemist. Within that, I will say I'm a catalysis scientist. Then, I'm a carbohydrate chemist. So we have made, I'm theoretical organic chemist now. So I thought science has to be interdisciplinary and we don't need these fragments. Again, as chemistry, I feel is the central science because I practice science. Chemistry is the central science because I practice chemistry, because whole universe is made of carbon. So I'm a carbon chemist, so I believe I am the central science and you're all peripheries to me. So, but organic chemistry, when you look at DNA, is organic chemistry because it's a sugar and a nucleic acid. Protein is amino acid, which is again a carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. So you cannot dispute organic chemistry is the central science, you have to accept. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as I told you at the beginning of my talk, actually this next slide is breaking my rhythm, but I hope you will bear with me. So it's a human endeavor and animals are not known to display it. Why are we better than the animals? Is because we do science. Because animals also do social. Because animals have a social life. If you look at the ants, if you look at our former INSA president and IST Bangalore, Professor Gadakar, I strongly urge you should listen to his talk. The ant behavior has been his entire journey of science. How disciplined they are, how disciplined are honeybees. In one honeycomb, you can't have more than one queen. So, while animals also have a social behavior, but they don't have science behavior. We are the ones, we conquered science, that's why human, the Homo sapiens, continue to be on the chain of living beings, we are on the top. So, we are proud that we do science and we are happy that we are scientists. But science must start with facts and end with facts, no matter what theoretical structures it builds in between. While we're talking of modeling and predictions, I thought this statement is very critical. Whatever theory says, end of the day, it has to be truth. It has to be imagination, creativity, not induction that generates real scientific theories. And you can look at the kind of statements given by people in the 12th century. And Aristotle's statement is considered the first scientist. So we consider Aristotle to be the first scientist, but the definition of science has changed, was pursued due to passion. Scientists felt towards the area of their interest. So I think this is something we need to keep in mind. Next, please. Many a times we wanted to be on the posters. Poster is something we all love. Our photo should be on the poster. We know when political leadership happens, the kind of banners they put across, they get excited to keep them on the posters. Advertisements, of course, are the posters. If you want to be on the poster, unfortunately in recent times in Hyderabad, at least I don't know in other parts, even people who are going on Ayyappa pilgrimage, they make their posters put across the road. You are worshipping the God, you don't put it on the poster. You are going to the Karimnagar Hanuman temple. I mean, you want to welcome to this. I mean, I think so much of plastic we consume, so much of environmental damages we do with that. I think it's your personal choice to go to temple. You go and come. World need not know you are going there. I think, but then you can be a poster boy like them. As long as humanity will be there, as long as this planet will be there, these names will be eternal. Sachin Tendulkar, we forgot. Sunil Gavaskar, which most young people have never heard, except they saw him as a commentator. We have seen him as a very boring opening batsman who could come on the opening day with bat and go on the fifth day, 120 not out. And Geoffrey Boycott of England, who has beaten Gavaskar's records. So, we forgot him, and most of you will not even know him. Then we all adored Virat Kohli. Again, suddenly people are forgetting, hey, Virat Kohli is not doing well, now you forgot him. Now, next fellow has come. So even if you're a sports person, you are only on the posters or recognized only till 35, 40, 45 age maximum. If you're a film actor, unless Amitabh Bachchan, you'll be forgotten before 50. But if you're a scientist, we still remember Abdul Kalam, we still remember C.N.R. Rao. They are 85, 90. They are not there. So if you want to be a poster boy, you can be a scientist, not a sports personality or a cricketer or a film star. So I do believe that these are the people whom we remember, and that's the science they contributed. If you look at Watson Crick, because of the structure they gave for DNA, the kind of vaccines we made today, the kind of healthy life we have, when we're talking of happiness index, health is one top priority. India began our journey, average age expectancy was 40 years, 35 years, today we are 70, we are aspiring to be 80, and we want to be 90, 95 like Japan, France, and we want to be 100. I can also tell you a secret how we can be 120 years living. Next slide, please. So if you look at the science beginning, the easiest science was physics. I mean, I'm trying to make a little fun out of all sciences. Don't take it seriously. Just comments to make that your foundation day lecture is not really a boring lecture. So it is so easy that you just go in the night, switch off all the lights, look at the sky, and keep giving some principles. Or go and sit under an apple tree, and apple falls on you, and then entire physics will come around you. But if I want to do chemistry, I need to have a round bottom flask, I need chemicals, what all I need. So I thought physics is the oldest science. So the first scientific observations for the sky, stars, planets, supernova. So you can see Copernicus, Bruno, then Tycho Brahe, how they have really evolved the science around the astronomy. Can you believe Tycho Brahe is called the naked eye astronomer? Imagine the eye power he has to see at the planet, at the stars, to refute belief of unchanged universe, precise measurements of supernova without the tools what we can have today. So I mean, these are the greatest people who build the entire physics, and we remember them. As I told, they are eternal. Next, please. So they are the path breakers. As the people move on, scientists who contradicted the scriptures. Kepler, laws of planetary motion, he challenged. Treated astronomy as universal mathematical physics. His mother faced trial as a witch. Galilei, father of observatory astronomy, built telescopes. Then he started looking more closely. Was under the house arrest for contradicting geocentric view. Can you contradict something which is happening? Have a courage to go to jail? Here is the person. He contradicted because he believed his wisdom is correct. He proved it later. After recanting his theory that Earth moves around the sun, he said, and yet it moves, he identified 3 moons of Jupiter, observed the Milky Way, and telescopes and lenses were the tools for development of this entire branch. So, initially you started with naked eye, built the lenses, and today we know how the space has been explored. So this is something we are cherishing. Next, please. Look at the biological sciences, which I believe is the second science. Born in 1635, the gentleman Robert Hooke, expected to survive, not expected to survive, because his diet was milk. He born with a genetic disorder. He had a weak constitution, developed a pronounced malformation of his body at the age of 16. He developed expertise in making tools. Around 1600, he started making tools, studied colored patterns produced by thin layers of materials, getting inspired by insects and butterflies, wrote micrographia those days with microscopy, and most famous discoveries, cellular structure, microorganisms in droplets of water, sperm cells, structure of feathers, nature of butterflies, and of course compound eye of a fly. So these are the ones he innovated with a physical challenge. So we are so lucky to have our hands and legs normal. We have been living a good life. But what is that message we want to get from? Are we not committed as much as he is committed, that we are not able to do new innovations? Next, please. So if you look at biology and botany and zoology, which are of course observing the plants, plant kingdom, the animals, here the Andrew Vasella in 1500, the grave robber and dissector. How many of our courage today that you could go to a graveyard in the night, dig the dead body or take a half-burnt dead body, take home, start practicing surgeries and teach the world this is how surgery is done, or this is the heart look like, this is how the liver look like, or this is how kidney look like. So these are the people who gave birth to the modern medicine or the modern science of health sector, what we are talking of today. Founder of Human Anatomy, published 7 volumes on the fabric of human body, studied inner parts of the ear, again without too much of tools. Today if you go to ENT doctor, the kind of tools he uses and still predictions are not so accurate. I can only give you one example, just again to make little lighter on the audience. I talk very loud without mic honestly, and I used to abuse and shout, scream on my students. When I was 39-year-old, 40-year-old young scientist, I got a hoarse voice, so I was not able to speak well. And every 2-3 days you have boiling hot water, pepper, whatnot, everything, Vicks, Halls, everything, can't heal. It works for 1 hour, again you get back to that hoarse voice. I went to Gandhi Hospital because my residence is closer there, and I know one ENT specialist, Dr. Upender. Dr. Saab, I'm hoarse voice, can you treat me? He told me, after many examinations, that your lubrication of vocal cords is gone. Honestly, I never heard this word. I think vocal cords have lubrication. And it's gone, and then that's why you're not able to speak well. What is that? You have to do a laser surgery. What is that? Very simple, non-invasive, and 99% you'll be normal in 2 days. What is that 1%? You become permanently dumb. Thank you, sir. And I came back because I always feel I will be in 1, not in 99. So I came back and I went to homeo doctor. He gave some medicine, it worked, and today I don't think you notice I have a hoarse voice. So I make this anecdote because don't insult a science just because you don't know it. People talk very loose on homeopathy, on Ayurveda, on Unani. I think we have no right to talk loose on other science. Like I'm making loose talk, science is chemistry, central science. We don't require to make comments. I think every science has its own relevance, and people have done research to come to some conclusions and they work. Imagine Harvey, circulation of blood, he doctrined, all life comes from the egg. And then look into the heritage, what we have. Sushruta was able to make small tools, was able to do surgeries. And one anecdotal story, he used to swim in Ganges, those half-burnt dead bodies from Harishchandra Ghat in Kashi were thrown into the river, and he used to collect them, take home, and like exactly what Andrea Vasella has done. I think he used to do Sushruta to bet the surgery of us. So these are the brave scientists we remember as long as mankind is there. Next slide, please. Now I say chemistry. I said chemistry is the youngest science. While it's made of, whole planet is made of carbon, so it's part of the universe. But when we look at the origins of chemistry, I found in the history of science books, the first science was physics and astronomy and all, then biology began and chemistry was relatively younger. So I gave you some history on how documented chemistry, again I'm not talking of Stone Age, that's a different talk where the chemistry of Stone Age was there and all that we can talk in a different forum, but how the chemistry began, as I told, the metallurgy of metals is the first science which is inorganic chemistry. How Mendeleev was able to identify elements to put into periodic table based on the properties. So this is how the entire chemistry has originated with metals. But later we started working on urea synthesis, Euler synthesis, which made entire agriculture the best. Then of course morphine, which was one of the early drugs for management of the pain from the plants. So chemistry has its own roots, but much younger than other sciences. Next slide, please. So if you look at metallurgy, as I told you, gold was one of the old metals because it melts much faster. So gold was one of the early metals. Copper era, we have seen how it worked. Then iron came and many other metals. And today when we look at uranium, how it has transformed the entire planet's energy sources. After we discovered nuclear chemistry and electronic movements and neutrons and all, how that chemistry has evolved to give the cleanest energy possible on the planet. Till, of course, now we are talking of hydrogen. Next slide, please. So I'll forget this history of organic chemistry. I don't want to bore you with, but I thought this is my science and it is not very old. You can look at 19th century onwards. Slowly, some chemistry began. Urea synthesis began in 1828. Acetic acid was the first chemical, was 1845. Benzene was 1865. Again, benzene has an interesting story. Those who studied chemistry in the college days, very unusual chemical we found, and it has properties no one predicts. Then Kekulé got a dream in the night that the electrons are moving like a snake in a cycle, and that inspired him to give that aromaticity. Today, entire science is driven by that dream. So I think when you get a dream, don't get up, just complete the dream, then get up and record the dream. Next slide, please. So I would like to take the journey on how the infections are treated after we got little industrialized and all that. Many people were dying of infection. That is why in 18th century, 17th century, if any infection comes, pandemic comes, there was no treatment. But imagine, here's a gentleman, Paul Ehrlich, Nobel Prize 1908, proposed certain dyes could selectively stain the bacterial cells. I mean, he was doing an experiment and he put some dye and he found that selective areas in the cell were getting red in color or green in color. So he says, why is this only certain part? Then he realized maybe it's the bacteria which is getting more stain. And imagine, he introduced the Protonsil, the first azodide drug to treat streptococci infection, invented by Bayer Laboratories in Germany. And Domag administered this drug, he got Nobel Prize in 1939, to his daughter who had streptococci infection. He had the courage, no clinical trials, just saw in the lab that is staining a dye. Daughter was suffering, he treated his daughter, she got red in color, but the infection many of us today say that if I want to experiment on my daughter, I'll have fun first. Maybe we like to do on the neighbor, whom we don't like. Our neighbor who's making too much noise in the night, putting TV loud, all that we'll try on that fellow. So sulfur drugs based chemotherapy started from there, and of course this was the first celebrated sulfur drugs which is there for us. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now we all have undergone 2 years of serious pandemic. Then Bharat Biotech vaccine saved all of us, some of us. Then, of course, AstraZeneca's vaccine and many others. But again, how the invention of vaccine in the scientific history has happened. Smallpox vaccine in 1796. Imagine the first vaccine equivalent was developed in 1796. Then BCG vaccine came after almost 120 years. Then tetanus vaccine came. Then we got more vaccines, and that's how. But again, how the vaccine is derived from variole vaccine, that's the word, use it. Smallpox vaccine was developed by Jenner after observation that people had cowpox, did not catch smallpox. So they were milking the cows, where the cow had that cowpox. They were exposed to that virus, they got antibody and they were not getting. So he isolated smallpox pus, injected to 8-year-old boy, smallpox infection did not occur. So how you observe the animal behavior, and how people are getting immunity. And that observation by Jenner opened the entire funnel of vaccine research. And one said by 2030, one should expect more targeted therapies. Practitioners will also be able to predict the likelihood of the patient being diagnosed with a disease or health condition. That means in 2030, if I'm going to live for 85 years, hopefully, in 2030, I'll be 65. So someone will tell at the age of 80 what disease I may get. So we are going to the kind of predictive era. Okay, I'm going to be diabetic, so I want to be careful. Or I'm going to get a cardiac problem, so I'm going to be careful. So this is the kind of science which is going to happen by 2040 and 2050. And this is how the vaccine research has happened. Next slide, please. So just to boost myself, when the pandemic happened, Dr. Ella Krishna from Bharat Biotech called us and said that we are trying to grow the virus in the lab. You know, those who know biology a little bit, how vaccines are made basically is you take the virus which is causing the disease, grow the virus, attenuate, you kill it using some chemicals, so 99.999% virus dies. A small dose is injected into you and that produces antibodies and that will give you the protection. But for your body to respond and produce more antibodies, you need to add adjuvant. Alum is the fundamental adjuvant which used to be used. But Bharat Biotech came with an idea that an organic molecule which is a better adjuvant than alum should be added in this vaccine. And they got few milligrams from a US company, and that company is not there, and no one was there in this world to manufacture that. And Ella Krishna called us, and I'm not telling a lie, within 8 weeks or 12 weeks, we made first 1 gram sample, we made 1 kilo in a month, and IST continued to supply every month 2 kilos of this adjuvant because you need only 15 micrograms per vial. So imagine 1 gram can go to how many doses? Today, all 28 crore doses which Bharat Biotech has sold, the chemical made in IST clean room has been added to the vaccine. So we are so proud that a chemist was able to add this adjuvant, which has increased the efficiency of vaccine from 60% to 88%, which allowed the clinical trials to go on well, and then regulator gave permission. Today we see all of us without mask. So the kind of vaccine which was innovated in 1790 by a shepherd, if you want to call, not a scientist, who was taking care of cows or horses. Today, that science evolved into saving us from one of the disastrous problems we had in the last 2 years. Of course, this was well recognized for us, and we are happy that this could really give us name and fame, not only name and fame, but save the lives. Next slide, please. So this slide actually wrongly placed, I would have put at the early part, but I just want to share with you, when you look at the Paleolithic era, which was my original title to this audience, how the life expectancy started from about 32 years, dipped down in the Bronze, Iron era, to got up a little more, and then we are now shooting up and up at 2020. And if your mathematical models predict and you want to draw the line, imagine where it goes. So the way science is progressing, there's every possibility that we are going to live longer than 100 years. And why do we celebrate Shashtipurti 60 years? It is the half time actually. So in principle, we are going to live for 120 years. 60 is the midpoint. We are not 100 years. So if you want to bless someone, don't bless 100, bless for 120. Okay. So next slide, please. Yeah, so as we are talking of happiness index, as I gave a little glimpse of how the health sector on the time scale, I think someone has to stop me, otherwise I keep talking. Okay. So when we wanted to be happy, as I told, health is one critical parameter. So health is enabling us to live a little longer, and hopefully we also make us a little more happier. And then that contribution will make us to get somewhere closer in this. But then another important factor is, of course, food. I mean, food is, of course, the primary requirement. Again, you go back to the Homo sapiens sapien, or how we came away from chimpanzee to human being what on today. I think the first evolutionary process from a four-legged animal we became two-legged animals. That's the biggest innovation for us. Had we been on 4 feet, we have no pair of hands to hold a round bottom flask or to hold a microscope or to do science. So universe has been kind enough that Homo sapiens, from a monkey to slowly what we have, our 2 forward legs have become shorter, and then we became erect standing, and then we conquered the planet, if you want to call. That was the biggest genetic evolutionary process which made us the supreme commanders of the planet. Otherwise, a lion or a giraffe or maybe much larger animals would have been controlling this. Size was not the matter. And also, if you look at why human was able to control, and the first innovation was we learned how to throw a stone from distance. So to get rid of a lion which was trying to attack you and kill, the early Homo sapiens, in a self-defense mechanism, were able to take a stone and throw at the lion or animal which was trying to kill them. And he realized that, yes, this is my weapon. And once you had weapon in your hand, then you took control of all the animal kingdom, and then that's what is the evolutionary process. And then we were only hunting animals and eating, no cooking, because raw meat was the meal for all of us, at least our great-grandfathers. Now we call you a vegetarian, unfortunately, but our great-grandfathers were raw meat eaters, if you want to call in plain terms. But then, of course, some lazy people like me who became vegetarians, they thought, no, why to take a stone and kill an animal and cook and all that? Why not eat whatever leaves are immobile, they're standing at one place. I'm lazy, I can pluck something and eat. So vegetarians are the laziest community. They have no energy to run behind an animal, kill and eat. So when the food was not available at one place, whatever green part, again, the whole human moved from the Nile River, went through. If you look at again the work done by CCMB, how the human has migrated from Africa over the continent and how we came to South India or North India and all that is itself is a big nature paper Lalji Singh and his team has published some time ago. So then we vegetarians thought that now my cultivated part is over. Now I have to go somewhere more lazy. Okay, let me cultivate here only. So he started cultivating. For cultivation, you need the seeds, varieties. So that's how agricultural science has evolved. So I think sometimes laziness also helps build a science. So agriculture is the oldest science, if you want to call. So again, how do we get agriculture more viable for this planet? Next slide, please. So this is history of agriculture. You don't want to read it, but just to quickly, early humans, as I told, were hunters, and then lazy gatherers. Then Mesopotamia time recorded the beginning of agriculture. This is all the history, how the crops have come to us, and how the tools also, from a small pottery to how now today we're talking of the drone technologies for agriculture. So how the evolution process has gone. Next slide, please. So green revolution, just to capture that, how we introduced new seed varieties, Norman Borlaug, Swaminathan's contributions on how a country which was suffering of famine, people dying of hunger, millions of people dying in this country, today how India has become one of the largest exporters of the food. So all that, again, I think as long as India is there, we'll remember these two names for the kind of contributions they have done. Next slide, please. So of course, this again tells you the green revolution, the way it has done. So I'm not going to bore you looking at the clock. Next slide, please. Now we are talking of new trends, integrated farming systems, hydroponics, modern technology, vertical farming. These are the new things coming up. And maybe in 2040, as we were talking, if the ocean starts eroding the land and ocean is larger, now how are you going to cultivate paddy on the ocean? Or you go vertical farming. If you go vertical, how many floors you can go? 10 floor, 20 floor, 100 floor, 1000 floor? Again, we don't know. How are you going to pump the water onto 1000 floors or 500 floors? If land is the smallest component, how are we going to cultivate the food? I think that's where the science will evolve and the AI tools will enable us. When DST funds some of the startup companies, today some IIT Bombay startups are able to develop a small chip a farmer can dip in the soil, can understand how much moisture is there, how much water he should put into the field, how much nitrogen is there, so that how much of nitrogen, urea he has to add, or how much phosphorus is there. I think this is how the 2040 farming will happen. Our farmers will be empowered with technology, AI tools, that we are going to survive even if your ocean takes away my land. Next slide, please. So these are, I think we should rush fast. Next slide, please. Next, please. Yeah. Next, please. So this is a technology which we developed in IST some time ago when Dr. Yadav was the director at IST. The technology is very simple. Insects also communicate, as I told you when Gadakar was talking on ants and insects. They are the most disciplined insects in the kingdom. So animals have a way of communication. Those who travel the forest, we know for mating how a tigress invites tiger or animals, larger animals. But insects have a chemical which is called a pheromone, which is the communicator for their mating. So the technology is again so excited from the nature. You take the pheromone from the male insect. We got the structure of this chemical. Now you make in the lab. You make small traps, put this chemical and keep at the corner of the field. All the female insects think there is a male insect, so they all fly. Or you put a female chemical, all the male insects will fly there. You trap and remove one gender from the field. Now that there is no mating, automatically you have an organic crop. You don't require to do anything else. So this is a technology which is coming up and this will go a long way. Next slide, please. Breeding is something which made like vegetarian crops, which Swaminathan has innovated for us, how the seed variety has given more crops. Even the genetic variations, imagine the size of a chick in 1957 and how it grew by 2005 and 2020, I don't know the size, I don't have a size actually. Now we are growing meat in the lab. You grow meat in the lab, either by organic or inorganic or by tissue culture or using some seeds. We know soya can be used. So now lab in the meat is going to be a big technology. By 2040, when you go, you don't require to increase the size of these animals, because if they go too large, then you can't handle them. They will handle us. So we don't want to allow them to grow larger, so we'll try to go to lab now. So then also these are the varieties how we go. Next slide, please. This is what I want to tell you. So plant-based meat, I can eat. Fermentation, I don't know, I have a little doubts on that. And cultivated meat. So you allow the production of the standalone protein sources of functional ingredients. Microorganisms can be taken into the lab and grow as a meat. And of course, this is a third variety. So these are three varieties. Again, DST is working very closely with startups. You already see on Amazon, you can buy some of these meats. And one day I was offered a plant-based meat in Israel. A startup in Israel said, this is a dish we made out of vegetarian meat. I don't know what is that. And then you can eat it, and it's as good as the original meat. I told her I never ate original meat, so how do I compare now? So I think some non-vegetarians have to try, especially the plant-based and fermentation-based, and if they give feedback, I think that's the big thing this sector will take on. Next slide, please. So energy, of course, health, agriculture keep us happy a little bit. Energy is the crux of all these problems. If you want to do an experiment, you need light. Of course, agriculture is dependent on it. Next, please. Next, please. So before going to energy, this is only to change the gears. When I told you we wanted to live longer, this is again an inspirational story from an Indian in Canada. Sirulumus is a bacterium Streptomyces hypoglossus. It's immunosuppressant and used to prevent rejection in the organ transplant. Actually, my PhD work was on immunosuppression, so I was interested in working in this molecule cyclosporine and rapamycin. So this molecule is also an anti-aging molecule. Next slide, please. Yeah. So just to tell the story of this molecule history, isolated from the soil, named rapamycin because it was isolated from a Rapa Nui island in a laboratory called IST Laboratories in Montreal. An Indian friend, Suren Sehgal, was the one who isolated this chemical. And unfortunately, this company became bankrupt. And they said, now you lost your job, get out. So this company is no more. And they said, because in US and Canada, land and buildings are more expensive. So generally they destroy everything, throw the refrigerators, chemicals out, and then shut down the campus. So they said, destroy everything. But remember, Suren Sehgal did not destroy the sample, going against the diktat of his company supervisors. And he took this sample to another company called Vyeth Pharmaceuticals. And this molecule was approved as an FDA-approved drug. Later, it was proven for cancer treatment in the market currently. Biocon in India makes it. And they also developed, next slide please. Yeah, so this slide, there's a missing link. It was an old slide. This chemical currently is tested in the mice. And they found mice is living 30% more life. Generally, mice live, say, for example, 100 days in a lab. You treat this rapamycin injection every day, it is living for 134 days. So about 33-35% improvement in your life. If you're 120 years life, which as I told you, if we start taking this, you add 30% on 120, you live for 150 years. So Papi Chirayu. Next slide. So I'm sorry, it's already there, sorry. So when, as I told, we as scientists are getting into farmers' chemicals, prepared industrially by combining ammonia and carbon dioxide, most eco-friendly process, okay, urea. But then those who are using Euro 6.0 diesel cars, they have to, AdBlue has to be consumed, okay. And AdBlue is taking away urea from the farmer. 99.9% ultra pure urea is required for a diesel car if you are meeting Euro 6 norms. How can we change urea to some other chemical is the problem we are posing to chemists, and hopefully some solution will come. Next slide, please. Yeah. So as I told, we keep dying of diseases. If you are from a rich country, we die of these diseases because we eat more, obesity, cardiovascular, high blood pressure, CNS, depression, Alzheimer, these are the ones. If you are coming from a poor country, respiratory infection, HIV, diarrhea, tuberculosis, malaria. So this is how diseases are divided also, like which poor, the scientific fraternity divided. Countries, middle class countries, both. Next slide please. So if you want to treat malaria, we have these chemicals to treat malaria. Next please. This is an inspiring story. I thought just I connect you before I go to energy on this. She gathered traditional Chinese medical data to get 640 prescriptions. One of them was artemisinin plant. When she started working, she went to the lab, never went back home. Her daughter was sent to a boarding school and mother could not meet her till to accomplish her task. How many of us would like to stay in INCOIS till this 1 year of celebrations is over, we make some innovation, and then I go and see my daughter? Not lifetime, by the way. So this is what gave her Nobel Prize in Medicine. So just to inspire, I thought this doesn't fit anywhere in my slides, but I thought I'd just share with you. Next, please. I think we push next fast. Next slide, please. Next. I don't bore you. I think this is all. Next slide, please. Yeah. So while we are conquering the diseases, as I told, we have conquered now COVID. But another big challenge is tuberculosis. 39 or 40% of Indian population, that means 40 out of every 100 in this audience, and 30% in the world have Mycobacterium tuberculosis as an inactive form in our lungs. When our immunity comes down, we will be suffering from tuberculosis. So next pandemic may be tuberculosis. When we say we are making country pandemic ready, this is one challenge we need to encounter. And when I skip one slide, Kalinol, it's a marine sponge. I wanted to share with you that when you work with ocean has so many sponges and corals and toxins are there which can cure cancer, which can cure many diseases. So how honestly when ocean scientists can work with the doctors, with the medical scientists is one thing we need to explore. Next please. Next, I think we skip this. So please. Next, yeah. Next, please. Next, yeah. This is all my stories. I don't want to tell my chemistry. Next, please. Yeah. So how healthcare will look like by 2030, as I told, better healthcare than what we have today. One was suffering from some medical condition, but we keep curing it. If ignored, medical insurance may become invalid or one may lose a job. Actually, what will happen is you are supposed to register yourself online portal, keep monitoring yourself. Otherwise, insurance also will not honor. That's how the US is evolving, and we all will evolve like that. Next, please. Next. Yeah, this is evolution of energy and light. Next, please. This is again to tell you how fire has come on this planet. I don't want to again bore you because 4:30. The first known use of fuel was the combustion of wood or sticks by Homo erectus nearly 2 million years ago. Remember, that was the first chemical experiment done. That means you take wood, burn, you get ash. That's an experiment. That was done 2 million years ago. Primitive humans may first have savored the roast meat by chance when the flesh of a beast killed in a forest fire was found to be more palatable and easier to chew and digest than the customary raw meat. Imagine how cooking began. It's an accidental eating of a charred meat, and that all revolved into cooking. Next, please. Yeah, I think we skip. I think hydrogen is going to be next fuel. Next, please. We all talk of environment, carbon footprint. I will not bore you here. Next, please. Yeah, so this would be the last slide, hopefully. So while I wanted to continue, as I told a story on Stone Age to 2050, but looking at 40-minute slot, and I realized I will surpass. I curtailed some slides today morning and change the title. But as humanity is not everybody, human beings start getting more and more greedy. As Mahatma Gandhi said, this planet has sufficient things for needy, for not for greedy. But as we become little greedy, because we had 4G, which was reasonably okay, but we want 5G because little faster Facebook, little faster YouTube. But remember, 5G is compromising on the security of your phone. Then we invest in cyber security. So it's a vicious cycle of getting there. So, but remember, we also start giving freebies, which Honorable Prime Minister always advocates not to do. Will also should not be good for the future. Focus will be on not luxuries. That's where again I want to reiterate, Honorable Prime Minister, the clarion call he has given, lifestyle for environment. When we talk of net zero by 2070, lifestyle. Very small things in our daily life, how we can reduce the carbon burden on this planet. We are carried away by the toothpaste advertisement. The longer the brush face, more toothpaste you keep, more cleaner your teeth is bakwas. I think you can consume your toothpaste, what you consume every day for 3 days. So naturally, the amount of carbon which is burned to make toothpaste elsewhere is minimal, and you reduce the energy burden on the planet. Starting from your shower, instead of taking a running shower, a bucket shower will reduce water. Starting from the shampoos to soaps, on how we can do a common social commuting together, carpooling. And how we go back to joint families so that I will have only one TV connection, not that I have 3 children, they are living in 3 different houses, 4 cable connections. I think the luxury has no end. I can tell you my house has 4 televisions, 4 bedrooms. All of us will see 4 different channels. So I think we need to also have a very conscious living if we want this planet, which we borrowed from our grandfathers, more cleaner, more greener. But are we going to hand over this planet to our next generation the way we borrowed, or we are going to give a dirty planet to our grandsons or grandchildren and say that it is your headache, I'm not bothered. I think rather than we making more wealth and giving to our grandchildren, can we give more greener environment to our next generation? I think that's the message I would like to convey. We need to get away from luxuries. Gap between the rich and poor will increase, but we need to work on that. Machines will be designed to suit the temperament of the customer. Already ChatGPT has been on our neck. It is writing better articles. I can assure you, if your director is a smart director, he will invite ChatGPT for 25th Foundation Day lecture. Just you order ChatGPT that please address INCOIS on 25th year. These are the boundaries. It can give a wonderful talk. Tesla, we all look at India doesn't have Tesla cars. DSC has invested 200 crores in IIT Hyderabad to build humanless driving vehicles. Will they make two varieties of cars? Tesla altruist. In emergency, it sacrifices the owner to the greater good. So you're driving on a highway, suddenly school bus is coming, it says that no, it's good, brake is not working, it has to hit the school bus and go into catastrophe. Rather, I take a left turn, go onto the ramp and hit a tree, but you will die. This car will be cheaper. The Tesla egoist, which is no worries, let us hit the school children bus, let them die, but I should survive. That will be most expensive car, egoist car. So whether we are going to hand over our steering to AI, between altruistic and egoistic AI, and how we are going to build ethical artificial intelligence driven tools is the way forward. Next slide, please. Leave it, I think we stop the story. Next. Yeah. So this photo is a tiger from Kabini my son took. History of science is essential to understand the processes, trends, and future of science for human well-being. So while I covered science of past, a little bit of what I do personally, and how hopefully science will look in the next 20 years, certainly science only can drive this planet, but a good science has to drive. Thank you again for this great opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful lecture. We totally enjoyed the informative and fun-filled 30 minutes. Moving on to the most awaited part of today's event, the e-launch of our new facilities, products and services. I request Dr. M. Ravichandran to virtually launch the National Glider Operations Facility. New age autonomous instruments such as gliders are known to be the future of ocean informations. INCOIS has developed the capability to use gliders for long-term ocean observation, and in order to cater to the glider piloting and regular maintenance, INCOIS has established this dedicated National Glider Operations Facility. The facility is capable of simultaneous piloting of the glider fleet along with its testing, ballasting, and routine maintenance. Thank you, sir. I request Dr. K. Radhakrishnan to virtually launch the e-classroom facility at the International Training Center for Operational Oceanography. Oh, okay. The state-of-art e-classroom training facility with a 72-seater capacity will aid telepresence learning, distance teaching, point-to-point or point-to-multipoint video conferencing, immersive telepresence virtual conferences, meetings, and learning sessions. Dedicated to training manpower in marine and coastal sustainability and responding to marine natural hazards, ITCO aims at promoting the development and optimization of a scientific-based technology and information system for operational oceanography at national, regional, and global scales. Thank you. I request Dr. S. Chandrasekhar to e-launch the OceanSat 3 Data Acquisition and Processing Facility. INCOIS has started acquiring the Ocean Color Monitor or OCM data from OceanSat-3 launched in November 2022 through an upgraded ground station. This data will be used for operational services such as potential fishing zone advisories. At this juncture, I would also like to thank Dr. Prakash Chauhan, Director of the National Remote Sensing Center, who has joined us today. Dr. Prakash Chauhan and his team have supported us in the upgradation of this OceanSat data acquisition and processing facility. Thank you, sir. I request Dr. SSC Shenoy to e-launch our new marine heatwave service. The Marine Heatwave Advisory Service for the Indian Ocean uses satellite-derived sea surface temperature to provide maps of marine heatwave intensity and different severity categories on a daily basis. The service will cater to various stakeholders through an interactive web GIS platform. Thank you, sir. I request Dr. M. Ravichandran to release the new Multi-Hazard Vulnerability Atlas. The atlas comprises 1,054 maps covering the Indian mainland and Andaman and Nicobar Islands, representing the coastal multi-hazard zones that are exposed to coastal inundation due to oceanogenic disasters in a 100-year recurrence interval. These maps are vital input for disaster management authorities to implement coastal disaster management plans and to improve coastal resilience. Thank you, sir. I request Dr. M. Ravichandran to unveil the new INCOIS at 25 logo. This logo represents our entry into the 25th year of our dedicated services to the nation. A series of events will be conducted throughout the year to celebrate the Silver Jubilee. Thank you, sir. Now we will have the prize distribution ceremony. I request our chief guest, Dr. M. Ravichandran, to hand over the prizes to the winners and first runner-up. We'll start with women chess. Women chess winner Sumana Mandal, runner KM Pooja. Women Carom winner YL Vijayalakshmi, runner Snehaja. Women badminton winner Sumana Mandal, runner Anuradha Modi. Women table tennis winner Nagashweta, runner Ashwati Pacha. Men chess winner Surya Challa Reddy, runner Ketavat Mantru. Men Carom winner Vigneshwar SP, runner A Murali Krishna. Men badminton winner Arun, runner Prem Kumar. Men table tennis winner Shivaya Bora, runner Satish Chennuri. Also a small token of appreciation for our co-coordinator of the games, Vigneshwar SP, and myself. Now it is time to honor our guests who were instrumental in what INCOIS is today. May I now request Dr. M. Ravichandran to felicitate our guest of honor, Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, and our special guest, Dr. S. Chandrasekhar. I request Dr. T. Srinivasa Kumar to felicitate our chief guest, Dr. M. Ravichandran and Dr. S.S.C. Shenoy. May I now request Dr. Prakash Chauhan, Director of the National Remote Sensing Center, to come over to the dais. I request Dr. T. Srinivasa Kumar to felicitate him. I also request Dr. Vijay Kumar, scientist at MOES, to come over to the dais. I request Dr. T. Srinivasa Kumar to felicitate him. I also request Commander P.K. Srivatsava, Program Director MOES, to come over to the dais. I request Dr. T. Srinivasa Kumar to felicitate him. Thank you, sir. As we bring down the curtains this evening, I request Dr. Balakrishnan Nair, Scientist G and Group Director OMAS, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everybody. I feel incredibly honored and privileged to propose vote of thanks for this great event, that is our INCOIS Foundation Day. Sir, I see a galaxy of dignitaries on the dais and off the dais who translated the innovative idea of Ocean Information Service into great institution of national necessity and international significance. Sir, I salute all these dignitaries here for this purpose. I express profound gratitude to Dr. K. Radhakrishnan, former chairman of Space Commission and Secretary DOS, and our beloved founder director. Sir, your guidance and vision were the cornerstone for building this institute and shaping our career as ocean scientists to serve this nation. Thank you, sir, for blessing this event with your presence as guest of honor and your inspiring words. So we heard an inspiring Foundation Day lecture from Dr. Chandrasekhar, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology. Sir, it was actually one of the best Foundation Day lecture we have. Yeah, we have heard. So you have mixed history, science, life philosophy with very big humor that many of the scientists cannot do. That is why I told that is a very excellent one. I feel that next year also Director INCOIS will not depend upon AE-based systems. AE-based system, but he will also again invite you for this lecture. Thank you, sir. So also this event is also memorable with one more reason, because we started with a small team, our founder director was telling, but now we are seeing galaxy of two founder members sitting here as our secretary and director. So this also is a great achievement for INCOIS. So I appreciate all of them, and also On behalf of, I extend our gratitude to our chief guest, Dr. Ravichandran, Secretary MOES, for enlightening us with the presidential address and for guidance. Whatever you are telling, definitely we will take it serious, and we will actually make our system such a way that it fit for the new India, translating the science more into these services. So, INCOIS community is also happy with the presence of Dr. Felicitation, our former director and MOS chair professor. Thank you for being with us at this memorable event, sir. Thank you very much. So, INCOIS also fortunate to have presence of Dr. Prakash Chauhan. He is also was our RAC member and made a lot of guidance. And his team from NRSA. We thankful to you, sir, and NRSA team for the support for setting up of OceanSat 3 data acquisition system and processing facility. Thank you very much. So, INCOIS is unique in many ways, as you all know, in the earth science community. One such aspect is translating the cutting-edge science. That means that we also do a cutting-edge research which translates into the science, services and ocean product. Today we have witnessed the launch of many facilities and services for the same. So we thank all the dignitaries for launching these products and services. We thank and appreciate scientists, division heads, group directors for their focused research and tireless efforts in developing such facilities and services. We'll, as 25 years, we look forward to developing many of such services. Last but not the least, I thank our dear director, our colleagues from MOES, Dr. Vijay and Prashant, all scientists at INCOIS, our admin staff, divisional heads, group directors, for putting this hard work for conducting this event. And thank you all who participated in our function and be with us. Thank you all. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. We will now visit the various new facilities at INCOIS. I request the dignitaries and my dear friends to join us in unveiling the plaques at the various facilities. Thank you.